Early meta review. We're going to review meta with stats from untapped.gg. And yeah, one day after I make a video talking about how I think the meta is great and standard is fun right now, we get this just bucket of freaking ice water. Let's check it out. Oh my goodness. So right here, up at the top for popular new decks. Simic Toxic, the most popular new deck. The Mono Red Burn and Mono Red Aggro list, though, if you combine them, is around 15% of meta, so still the most popular single color. Then Golgari Fight, that's a new deck that's showing up in popularity. That's cool. Dimir Control, I think we can count as a new deck using all those proliferate cards. It's been basically off the meta. In fact, if you look down here at graph, look at graph, Dimir Control went from like 0.5% of meta up to about, where are we at there? Where is it hiding? 6%? So big jump for Dimir Control, basically a new deck. Azorius Soldiers still lurking. Esper Control, I mean, it's never new, but it feels new. And then Jund Midrange is pretty new, although very different version in the past. I'm guessing that now the Tyvar version that both LVD and Croakies have made videos with is doing well. So how are our new decks doing? How is the new meta? The new meta, guys. How are those new decks bringing it here? Keep in mind that these percentages start in November 15th, so it's not perfect. This is also bronze to mythic. We'll get into all that. Soldiers, 63%. Mono red decks, 55 to 58%. Yep, Esper Control, barely above 500. Jund, 49. Classic Jund. 47.7% for Golgari Fight. We'll get more into that. Simic Toxic, 45%. And Dimir Control, 40.5%. It's gross. It is gross. The new decks are, to date, getting pantsed by the established decks. And you can also apply sweet filters so we can look at what happens when we cut out the silver and the bronze. Toxic goes up a tiny bit, but the numbers overall don't improve very much for our new kids on the block. What if we just go with platinum to mythic gamers? It's early, so a lot of the mythic people from last season are in platinum. And, well, did get better. Mono black suddenly pops up to number 3, so people are still playing that wretched infernal monster. And yeah, the numbers for our heroes continue to struggle. But hey, let's get into, maybe we can uncover some of the why. So let's dive in. This is going to be great. So here we can set February 7th through now. So this will just be stats since the release of the new set. And you see here in Platinum to Mythic, we have 68,000 matches. We can expand that if we wish. We can see the whole scope, 110,000 matches. And we look at our tier 1 soldiers, mono white soldiers. Great. Red, black, green, white, Gruul. This is our first sign of a deck that you could consider kind of new. There's only like one deck that has enough matches played to get ranked, 1,700, and we see that it's running some evolving adaptive type stuff. So at least there's something new going on. Selesnya Toxic hanging out at 54%, doing its thing. And then as we continue to move down, we see some of our heroes. Golgari Fight, 48%. Mono Green, 45.9. Simic Toxic, 45. Dimir Control. Guys, what's going on? I need your help. I need you guys to help rep these. I mean, maybe I just got lucky. I don't know. It's kind of wild to see these numbers out of the decks that I was having really good times with. So yeah, that's a tough look. That's a very tough look. And if we get into the decks a little bit more, Soldiers doing its thing. Golgari Fight, you guys put up a lot of matches, second most played here. And if we dive into this and check out the archetype, we can see that there are some good matchups. So like beating up Simic Toxic, so is everybody. not exactly an achievement. Winning against mono red, we got a 53% and a 52%. The mirror, of course, even, and then getting absolutely pantsed by soldiers and beaten up by control decks. I did not think you guys would get this pantsed by soldiers. I mean, the spells aren't super impacted by Thalia because there's a lot of creatures. There's also only 4 Brutal Cathars. Obviously, they draw them every game, but you know, I feel like a few removal spells on the Brutal Cathars get your Obliterator back, fight, win. So I am surprised by the soldier numbers. I'm also surprised that the mono red numbers didn't turn out higher. It just feels like 53, 52. I was expecting like 58s, 60s. I was expecting mono red to struggle, and it looks like mono red is still squeaking by in a lot of games. So that is definitely not looking good for Golgari, but I appreciate you guys putting in the matches. I wish we saw some better results. I do highly recommend, after playing it a bit more, that the Invoke Despairs, probably not, and that the Gix's commands and the Cruelty of Gix, probably. Don't go too hard on Cruelty of Gix. The 3 life is a serious cost, but maybe also if you're continuing to struggle against red, maybe Flesh Gorger also has to play more. But I think that we're far from done with some of these decks. It pains me. It pains me. It's like watching my children struggle. I don't like it. On top of that, what else do we have here? I mean, where is a new deck that's actually performing? Let's go ahead and sort this instead of by matches by the win rate. And we will see Azorius Soldier, 66%. Thanks, I hate it. Ugh. Esper Legend, 65.6%. I mean, still an incredibly dangerous deck. Mono Red Burn, which what's differentiating between the burn and the aggro here? Just like, whether or not they're playing the mechanized warfare and the festivities package. Oh wait, this one is too. This one also has the festivities and mechanized warfare. I'm not exactly sure what they determined to be burn and not burn, but there you go. Anyway, mono red. It's mono red. This is mono red. It's trying some Blazing Crescendos. That's about the only fun new card. And then going down, we continue to just see the aggro decks of the last format dominating so far. Now, some of you might be disheartened. I get it. But try not to forget, it is so early in the season, and there might still be things to explore, learn, and figure out. I don't think any of the decks I've released in the last 5 days or so since early access were done. We're absolutely perfected. And unfortunately, I can't put a lot of time in to perfect them, as we're constantly moving around between content and I'm jumping around decks and trying different things. But I think that there's still a lot of space to get better and to more or less perfect various versions of decks. Also, we'll be closely analyzing these and putting these decks in the crosshairs as the things that we're going to try to beat as we move forward, and that can also help us increase our win rates a little bit. The goal isn't always to have a 66% win rate. That's pretty insane, but if most of my decks get well above 50%, 55 to 60%, and then you can take them to Mythic, I consider that a success. I consider if you guys are doing 45%, I take that kind of personal. I've got to try harder. I must work harder, must do better, because it pains me. You guys know. You watch my stuff. You see me and how I feel while playing ladder. It pains me to see the same old decks picking up matches left and right and left and right. So we're not giving up yet, but the early meta, we've got to dial in. Toxic decks are taking a beating. The fight decks are taking a beating. The green ramp decks are taking a beating. Must improve. All right. What do you guys think that we can do to slow down the dominance of those aggro decks in the format? Please let me know in the comments. I do promise you this. I don't think the answer is mono black rats, but I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you for watching this video. As always, see you in the next one. You're cool.